So I've got Paul here from the Toon Review. He's got his own YouTube channel, an excellent daily news channel, would you say?
Yeah.
I'll leave a description in the link below. Highly recommend you watch Paul's YouTube video. Paul, Eddie Howe's called this the ultimate test.
Yeah, it is. I think it is. It's kind of a gauge, probably not of where we are this season, but where we are from last season when we, 9-0 aggregate score against City, 4-0 and 5-0. It was awful. I know he said that the second game, the result was a bit unfair, but it's an indication of where we are now. And depending on the team lineup, we don't know if he's going 3 at the back yet or 4 at the back. But I think the only concern that I have is, and I've said this many, many times, is the starting 11 that we have at the minute is very strong and can certainly give City a game. It's when you get into that second half and changes are starting to be made. City have got world class for world class. We haven't got that yet, and that's where we need to improve in the transfer window with a bit of depth. So that's my only worry, that we get into the game in the second half and we start to tire. We bring players on that aren't of the quality they've come off.
Talking of the formation, I initially thought it might have been 5 at the back, 5-3-1, but I've actually plumbed for, in my introduction, 4-3-3 with the same lineup against Brighton.
Yeah.
Even if Matt Targett's fit, I think you might plumb for the height with Byrne playing at left back. What's your thoughts?
The only thing that would concern me about Byrne at left back is this pace that Man City have on their right hand side. It doesn't matter who they play, they've got pace there. So, I know Dan Byrne hasn't really struggled for pace over the time he's been here, but left back is a very, very different position when you've got speedsters coming at you from that side. So I
it's
think
tricky because we've got one of the best forwards in the world with Erling Haaland playing 6'4" Norwegian. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
Whoever you mark, and you've got De Bruyne, you've got Silva, you've got Foden.
Yeah, all over the pitch, and that's why it's an indication of sort of where we've come from to where we are now. And we know we're nowhere near Manchester City. We're miles behind them still, but it's for us as fans. Man City is a kind of guide as to where we can actually go with this football club now. So the excitement is still there, despite whatever the result is today. We can look at Man City and say, yeah, that could be us in 4 to 5 years' time, which is the exciting thing.
Under what circumstances can you see us getting a result today?
Hard work from the off. I think we have to be at it from the second the game kicks off, even when they're starting to get tired. Not make silly little fouls, give away free kicks around the penalty area, that kind of thing. Just make sure that we use the ball well. When we get the ball, we know Man City have a lot of possession. They always do, no matter who they play. But it's when we get the ball and what we do with it is going to dictate what the score is going to be.
I think we need the same sort of blueprint that we had against Arsenal in the last game of the season. From the first whistle, we were in amongst it. High intensity, pressing them down. When we lost the ball, we got it back within a few seconds. I think we're going to need some of that today. And perhaps Man City have a little bit of an off day.
Well, you always hope that, don't you? But you're right. I think what I want to see from Callum Wilson is exactly what you've just said. In that final quarter, the final third of the pitch, bossing the centre-backs like he did against Arsenal. Arsenal didn't know what hit them on that game. Callum Wilson was just up for it from the word go. He was on the backs, he was making runs. And that's where we kind of miss John Joe Shelvey, and we miss Bruno being a bit further forward. So I'm hoping that Callum Wilson can get some service today, because that's been a big, big problem. He gets frustrated very easily at the minute, and because he's not getting the easy balls into the box that he should be. But hopefully they've worked on that in training, and we'll see what happens.
Bit of a bite in this match as well with Jack Grealish and Almiron. Now, Eddie Howe said in his press conference about Almiron that he was our standout player against Brighton. I get the impression Eddie Howe sees Almiron is crucial to Newcastle this season with his work rate. He just needs a bit of tweaking with his finishing and his assists. But I think he could go from strength to strength. But with Grealish, what about those stupid comments? He's going to get a roasting from the Newcastle fans today.
He is, and he deserves it, to be honest. Saying that about a fellow pro is rotten anyway, but that's the kind of attitude that Grealish has. But the thing is, with Almiron, he's definitely improved. We saw it in pre-season. I'd like to see him play exactly how he did over in Benfica. That was the Almiron that we see for Paraguay. And sometimes you don't see it in a black and white shirt, but he's definitely improving under Eddie Howe. And I think the more he does with Eddie Howe, the more he's going to improve. The question is, has he got enough time? If we do bring someone in to play on the right-hand side, does that mean Miggy's back on the bench? But he's not a bad person to have brought on, and then obviously start a few games as well. So it's massive, but I hope Grealish gets a slaughtering today.
He will, and definitely in regards to Almiron, I think Eddie Howe will probably give him till the World Cup to show that he can score some goals and create some chances for other players. And I hope he does, because his heart is like a lion. Yep. His work rate is second to none, I think. In terms of the result, I've gone for a very optimistic draw. We're capable of winning, of course, under certain circumstances, but I've gone for a draw. What do you think?
This is going to sound crazy, right? But I've gone 3-1 Newcastle. Honestly, I just hope, like we said before earlier on, if Man City have an off day, we're up for it from the word go. We get a couple of goals in front. You never know what might happen. I mean, 3-1. That's me head ruling me heart, really, or vice versa. But I think if we get a point, hey, fantastic. But even if we lose today, we haven't got to be too dispirited because we know what a side City are. So, but looking forward to it. Lastly,
Paul, you've probably seen Fabrizio Romano's put out a tweet today about João Pedro, that we've allegedly put a verbal offer in, a third one, now for 25 million with 5 million add-ons for the Brazilian centre forward from Watford. Personally, I don't think anybody would disagree that he's not worth that today, but clearly they see him as a player with potential, that again, he's got the right characteristics and motivation and personality where he could become a really valuable member of the team and bang some goals in. What's your thoughts?
Again, the valuation is outrageous for me, but the problem is that's part of the pitch. You're going to have to pay that kind of money. It's as simple as that, whether in the Championship or anywhere else for that matter. You've got to pay the money. Some people disagree with the way we've been negotiating transfers this summer, some haven't. It's becoming a little bit frustrating that we're going in for players and then seeing them go to other clubs, fair enough. But I think in Pedro, we've got, again, a young kid. He bossed us here last season when he played for Watford. He was brilliant. So if that's the kind of player we can get, and then again nurtured from Eddie Howe, we've got a player. And anybody, you look at the current squad and think, right, is he better than Chris Wood? Absolutely. So we've got somebody there to help Callum Wilson, and that's the main thing.
Paul, great thoughts on the match. If you want to catch Paul after the game and we have a talk about what we thought of the result, don't forget to tune in later. Cheers, Paul.
No bother.